floor. Sally's here. She's been a resident of Spokane 4 times longer than I've been alive, so she knows a lot more than me. She's seen a lot of great candidates out here, but she's also impressed by Lance. So I just want to give her a chance to talk about some of her experiences and her rising in the Democratic Party and what she thinks of Lance. All right, it's you, Sally. You're up.
Okie dokie. Well, first of all, I'm impressed that for anybody that wants to become an informed voter. That is absolutely wonderful, because I think that makes you a better citizen. And I have to say, my sainted grandmother voted for the best looking man. She didn't care what his politics, what his issues were, as long as he was the best looking one. And by the number of people that get in office, I think lots of people have quirks like that when they vote, but you're taking the time to be informed. And my name is Sally Jackson, and I'm an old timer. I was born out here when Herbert Hoover was president, so that makes me almost 89 years old. So anyway, I saw the valley that was orchards and farms and meadows, and I loved it like a mother loves a child. It was a wonderful, wonderful place. And then it was predominantly Democrat, because FDR, of course, became president, and so many people followed him and just loved him. And then the valley was, of course, sparsely populated, so you knew so many people. And it was a friendly down-home place, which tends to be Democrat. So that's how we swung in those days. Well, then Expo came along in '74, and people came from all over the country and discovered what a magnificent place this was. So, man, did we ever get the increase in population. And, of course, the valley grew from suburbs and then finally into this city. And as it grew that way, it turned Republican, and because it was no longer the farm, the down-home area. And then in recent years, it's turned right-wing Republican. And everybody's got their own opinion, but the problem with that is Olympia is almost a democratically led legislature. And so often, except for Slade Gordon, have been Democratic governors. So the 4th sends right-wingers in, and they have very low credibility in Olympia, which does nothing for the valley. So, of course, the hope is that Democrats will take back the 4th district and will have good representation again. The sad part is we've had some great candidates over the years. They're intelligent, they're well-informed, they know government, but like my grandmother voting for the best-looking man, too many just vote R Republican, and we keep what we've got. So anyway, I'm so inspired this time because we've got Lance and Lori, and then of course John Ross Kelly. And Lance is such a great guy. He's quiet, he's soft-spoken, but he's honest, he's loyal, and he has a great desire to serve the people of the 4th district. And an added cupcake, I guess you'd say, is that he has a mathematical background. He's an accountant. And since the state has to balance their budget every year, an accountant has got to be welcomed with open arms in Olympia. And with his background in economics and fiscal matters, couldn't have a better person. So I hope that you look at that when you decide to vote, who is best for this area. And without a doubt, there's no doubt in my mind that Lance is the person to represent us and do a great job of it. So Lance, my best of luck to you.
Thank you, Sally.
Thank you, Sally. That means so much. I know you've seen a lot of what's gone on here in the Valley, and I'm a relative newcomer, but I'm very proud to be representing my neighborhood.
Well, and I think my grandmother would vote for you, honey, because you're the best looking man.
I was going to try to pull that out of you, but I appreciate you just offering it.
Yep.
All right, Lance, I was thinking just for the viewers, you could describe what made you want to run, who you are as a candidate, and where you want the direction of the fourth LD to be, and how you think you could provide leadership and good qualities to lead that position.
I first got interested in running for office after the 2018 elections. I've been a lifelong Democrat, but I had never run for public office, never really considered running for public office. But like the rest of us, I was really, really upset that the 2018 elections returned Matt Shea and Junior McCaslin to the legislature, and to think that my community was being represented by extremists was just a final straw for me. So I decided I wanted to get involved. I feel like we deserve to have leadership that's pledging to represent everybody in our district. The conservatives, the extremists, like to paint a picture of the Spokane Valley area as being all a single group of people who are conservatives and want things to stay the same. In reality, the Spokane Valley area has changed greatly, and we have a lot of influx of people from other parts of the state, from other parts of the country, from other parts of the world. And it's important to me to be somebody who represents everybody. If I go to Olympia and in 2 years, people just say, well, he was a good Democrat, that won't be enough. I really feel like I want to be a person who can represent everybody in Olympia. I throw my age out sometimes as being, I'm not out for a political career. Let me say this. This isn't the beginning of a long political career for me. This is my opportunity after I'm an accountant. I worked as a blue collar worker earlier in my life. It's my chance to serve my community, to my grandkids. I have grandkids and great grandkids who live here, and I want them to be able to be proud of the fact that I stepped up and served as a citizen legislator. So that's what got me involved, Boston. I'm an accountant. I'm a Democrat. I believe that with the upcoming budget talks, we need to have progressive voices at the table, people who will recognize that there's a lot of serious need, and we can't do these across the board cuts and cut our safety net for people. We've got to continue to take care of people.
You mentioned how your goal was to be a representative for everyone. Currently, we have a political environment plagued by hostility and differences. How do you plan to be a leader of change to show productive dialogue and a sense of community, regardless of people's political affiliation?
I've been drawing on some of the friendships and relationships that I gained from my race for Spokane Valley City Council last year. It was a nonpartisan race, and Tim Hattenberg and I, Tim's a Democrat, we were teamed up with Brandy Peets, who's a Republican, try to bring change to the Valley, opposing the same group of extremists that I'm running against now, really. I didn't succeed, they did. But in that process, I became friends with Republican mayors, ex-mayors, with a lot of the Republicans in my community. And I'm trying to make the pitch, or the pitch I'm making is that I'm not trying to convert people from Republican to Democrat. Our affiliations with our parties are strong, but I am trying to make the point that the person representing the Republican Party this year, it isn't really a Republican either, as terms of having the family values that the people I know who are moderate Republicans share. So I'm reaching out saying, this one time, you know, hold your nose if you have to, but vote for the Democrats in the 4th legislative district and help us swing this district. It's the best chance we've had in generations, and it'll just make such a difference. But that's how I'm trying to go about this. We're certainly reaching out to Democrats, but also trying to bring the same message to Republicans and say that, you know, as Republicans, you care about preservation of our roads and bridges, and making sure that we have the resources to protect our families. So I'm trying to lean on the fact that we share more than we have policy differences about.
Awesome. How do you think your experience as accountant can help you come in and make the proper changes that are necessary, or lead the way for proper changes when you're in Olympia?
As an accountant, professionally, it's part of my experience as an accountant to try to view things without prejudice, without bias, to look at what's the true nature of the situation. And I think in Olympia in January, we'll be making hard choices, and it's going to take realizing that there'll be changes that won't please everybody. But I've worked with budgets. I understand budgets. I understand the fact that we can't spend money that we don't have in revenue. So it's a two-way street. We have to make the choices to make sure that we can continue the service that we need. So I think that being an accountant, I hope that I can play some part in the budget and appropriations process.
Sally spoke earlier about the spokesman review's endorsement of you and how rare and how great that is for your candidacy. But I think it goes deeper than that. I think it shows a shift of Spokane Valley, not necessarily politically, but morally. How do you think that you're more capable of representing the morality of Spokane Valley than, say, your opponent, Rob Chase?
Well, Rob Chase has self-defined himself as feeling like one certain religious sect deserves more representation and more authority than other people, and that one race deserves preference over another. I think no matter whether you're a fifth generation or an American who just arrived, we all have the same rights, the same responsibility as Americans, no matter who you love, no matter what you believe. I believe that we're Americans based on the fact that we live here and we're making this our home. I was asked the other day if I thought that undocumented people should get unemployment benefits. And as far as I'm concerned, we're all part of this together. And it's important, you know, the COVID has showed us that our communities can't be healthy unless we're all healthy. And we can't be a prosperous, healthy community in a place that's good for families without that extending to everybody.
Thank you. How do you plan on ensuring youth and diverse voices are heard in our political environment and the crafting of legislation?
Well, I've begun that with my own campaign team in that, my campaign team is entirely made up of women, women of color, disabled individuals. I feel like all voices need to be heard at the table, and I would plan to seek those out. Um, you've mentioned, of course, seeking out the voices of young people. That's a challenge for us in the political arena. I want to have, I want to be one who's listening. I would, I would love it if I could be able to arrange some kind of an ongoing thing to be able to hear the things that young people are interested in Olympia. I'm working a lot with people who are working on early childhood education and safe, affordable childcare. These are topics that are big in younger people's minds and families' minds because they affect them so much.
Awesome. Okay, so we have a question from Weber. Sorry if I had a mispronunciation of your name. Let me go to the chat so I can ask that. What are high priorities that we must keep in Washington during upcoming budget cuts? Speak to educational support, immigration, other types of specific aspects of the budget that you think are important to maintain or cut.
Only 5% of our state budget is involved with the actual administrative functions of the state. The other 95% of our budget goes to services, the kind of human service support system that we have, and education. Those are the main components. It's hard to see where how cuts to education can happen in this current COVID environment. Educators are stretched thin trying to figure out a new means of providing educational resources. It's shown that we need extensive investment in broadband throughout the state because classes can't go online in an equitable way when everybody doesn't have broadband. Higher education receives a big chunk of money, and I know that the higher education has a lot of the administrative functions of higher education has already agreed to take salary cuts. I really believe that the answer to our problem is to seek more revenue because we just have to keep the safety net services of government operating. The way we handled a crisis in 2008 of doing across the board cuts to education, we're still feeling the repercussions of. I'm in favor of generating revenue from creating a capital gains tax on high earners so that people making over $1 million start to pay their fair share of reinvesting and rebuilding the state of Washington. Our tax code is already upside down, burdening low wage workers, and there's no way that we can keep government going by raising taxes on the people who can afford it the least. So I hate to say that word in an election year of raising taxes or increasing taxes, but to me, it's just naive to think that we're just going to say we're going to tighten our belts and slash this or that and still be able to maintain the necessary services. I hope that answers you, Sue.
How do you escape some of the toxicity that comes with the D next to your name when it comes to an election. As Sally said, a lot of people are going to look at the ballot and see an R next to Rob Chase's name and possibly vote for him just off the basis of that. How do you plan on reaching those people with the home stretch coming up so they see past the DNR and they see you as a better candidate?
We're reaching our campaign out to Democrats and Republicans. In past years, where we could do the kind of doorbelling and ground game that we did, we oftentimes just went to Democratic households. We're reaching out to Democrats and Republicans with the message that I'm the best choice. I'm the person who can go to Olympia and be a legislator who will listen to them and be a legislator who won't embarrass them. I think that Eastern Washington needs effective leadership. I don't agree with the idea that Eastern Washington doesn't get its fair share from the Seattle area. But on the other hand, we need to have legislators who are effective, who can work well with their colleagues and make sure that Eastern Washington is represented well. We have different needs. You know, the transportation needs of Eastern Washington are completely different than the transportation needs of the west side. But we have really valid pressing transportation needs that our businesses need, and that we need to be able to preserve the infrastructure that we inherited.
COVID-19 has created a lot of budget needs and necessities. What do you think have been some of the wrong steps of budgeting, such as, for an example, less money going into health? Where do you think we should reappropriate funds due to COVID, and how do you think that has changed some of our budget needs?
Of course, the election this November will tell us a lot about the answer to that question, because the federal government should be playing a role in our preparedness. We know that the federal government has neglected that. We have hopes that with a new administration, we'll see more from the federal government to provide the kind of planning for emergencies that they have in the past. That said, it's fallen on the states to take on that role. I happen to be someone who thinks that our state has done well. I can disagree with Governor Inslee's decisions on some things, but I point to the fact that our state still is doing better as far as COVID than a lot of other places. COVID's uncovered a lot, both in terms of our health needs. I mean, obviously, we need to have some kind of universal health care. Everybody needs to receive health care. If only part of our community gets health care, then we're going to be sick. We need COVID shown that the idea of starving government is a bad proposition. And one of the things I'll point to are the Employment Security Division computers that have continued. First of all, they lost a lot of money in the millions of dollars by fraud, but these computers are as old as I am. They continue to not be able to pay out employment benefits on a regular basis. The Spokesman Review has an article this morning about how still today people are not getting those benefits. So we government that's prepared for these kind of events. We didn't know exactly that this pandemic would look exactly like this, but we knew that emergencies would come, and people in charge knew that we weren't prepared for them. So I think it has to be an essential part of government to prepare for these. But the flip side of that is that it's an essential part of voters' responsibilities to vote for legislators who support those things, and to understand that money has to come from somewhere to pay for the things that we as a community require. And so there's tough decisions to be made. I'm I appreciate the fact that so many of you in the greater Spokane Valley area have confidence in me to go and be the one to represent you.
I'm going to go to the chat again for this next question from Weber again. Obviously, forest fires are on the top of a lot of our minds, with a lot of neighboring communities and a lot of smoke and a lot of environmental concerns. What do you think can be done to curb forest fires? And do you think that our community has done enough?
I'll admit to not having knowing a lot about specific details about the forest fire situation. I know one of the things that comes to mind to me is that it seems like we could do better in terms of defensible barriers around some of our cities. I think that we have to look again at logging practices. There has to be a balance between environmental concerns and our need to have safe forests. Just to say that I believe climate change plays a part isn't really enough. And I guess what I want to say is that, to me, it's important to understand science and to realize that science isn't something to believe in or not believe in. It's something to understand or not understand. My opponent obviously doesn't understand science. And I think my best overall answer to you about the forest and the fire situation is that we need to make sure that scientists and professionals are making these decisions more than politicians are, and that our elected officials are making decisions based on science. So I would say that would be my pledge about how I would handle this in other situations, is that I understand science. I think that we are well served to inform ourselves by science, and that goes to COVID, it goes to the fires and a lot of the other things that we face in a legislature, where we have to come up with real solutions, and conspiracy theories just don't get us there.
With the home stretch to ballots being dropped, how can we help you, and how can we help your campaign, and how can we get the message out about your campaign? So what I'm asking is, how can we direct volunteers, and where can volunteers be directed to help you most efficiently and effectively?
My website is voteLanceGurel.com. You can, on the website, you can donate directly through the website, and you can sign up to help us volunteer. So at this point, ballots are out. I mean, mine came in the mail today. People are going to be returning them soon. We have been doing lit drop. All the doors that don't have Trump or Chase signs, Democrats and Republicans. Into next week, we'll start to get the matchbacks that'll tell us who's already voted. And so we will plan to continue with doing some targeted lit drop to people who haven't returned ballots, as long as that seems reasonable. And they can sign up to help us with text banking. Again, with texting, we can reach people who haven't voted. If you haven't text banked, it's a really simple online thing. It's not like texting from your phone. We have scripted text. You send out text to people. You come back later when you see who's responded to them, and then send them a number of responses depending on whether they've asked for volunteer information, more information. So texting and lit dropping and asking for some more monetary contributions. We're going to be pushing it up to the end as best we can. We got some good response from our parades last year, and so we haven't made any final decision on that, but as it gets in the final weeks, we'll be on some corners waving signs and having parades. But votelancegurel.com, email me or call me anytime with questions, and please share this with your friends. If you've got a list of Republican friends that you barely talk to, but they live in the 4th, please share it with them as well. And I appreciate your help, Boston. I appreciate you putting this together and getting it out to people on social media. Sally, thank you for being appearing in our first in our Zoom meeting. You are you have been a big help in the Democratic Party in this area for so long, and I'm just I'm proud to be representing and the same line and heritage of supporting Democrats and being a good Democrat and standing up for democratic principles that you've been doing all these years. Thank you.
I'm trying
Sally.
to unmute Sally and it's not
Yeah.
working.
I wanted to see if she had any questions for Lance. Because she might. She sometimes has a lot to say.
Can you find the unmute at the bottom? Yeah.
I don't know why, as the host, I should be able to unmute people, but it's not working. Hold on. Let me try one more thing.
Oh, I am sorry that we didn't get postcards to you.
I sent her a message and said that I'll follow up with her.
Okay. I mean, we have people that are sending them out, really through this weekend. I don't think everybody's getting their ballots right out, but we'll get back. If you're inclined to do some today and tomorrow and over the weekend, we'll get some to you. Thank you.
Hey, Sally, if you can hear me, on the bottom left where it says mute, tap it so then you're unmuted so we can all hear your beautiful voice.
Zoom could make that easier. It's I know they don't want people unmuting accidentally, but
Oh, I did it.
All
With
right.
Lila's help. It's rough when a 10-year-old kid has to figure out how to do things. I'm just wishing you the very best. And I did cards for you. I did about 30 cards for you a month or so ago, but I'll be glad to do anything at all for you. And because there's a few people out here that don't hate me, so that's good. So you go get them for the lady, won't you?
Yes, I will.
Okay.
Do you have any stories about Rob Chase?
In my circle of friends, I try to eliminate Republicans. And I got to tell you, we did have contact back when I was trying to disincorporate the city. And he was some help then, so we had some contact then, but honey, my memory's short, so I forgot about that.
Okay, very good. Well, thank you all. It's good for me to get a chance to answer some questions and have you get them out to people. Ballots are out. it's going to be very exciting.
Yeah, I just hope that we can do everything we can to get your message out, because I really think if people hear your message, it will resonate with people. I know COVID puts a strain on a lot of the grassroots movements that your campaign could be doing, but I still think you're doing a great job. And I'm looking forward to helping out the next few days, and just reach out to the 4th and we'll try to get some volunteers for you to send out wrap cards, make calls, text bank, anything you need, because you and there would make a big difference from what we have now. And I think it's a change that we need, and I think it's a change that the Valley's ready for. And I think the spokesman's reviews endorsement displays that we're ready for that change. So thanks for taking up your time today. I hope
thank you.
We can put this message out.
I do also just want to let people know that one way to get involved that's easy and very low impact is to follow Lance on social media and share his message. He is on Facebook, he's on Instagram, he's on YouTube, and we've got videos and posts that people can share and just let their friends and family and neighbors know about Lance's message and know that he is the best choice for the 4th.
Thank you all.
Thanks,
Go get
everyone.
him, kid.